Welcome back. All right, we got some stuff to talk about. We had some extra time tonight, so things are tightening up a bit. Scoring not completely crazy either. So yeah, we're starting to get into the swing of things. This is where things get a lot tighter, and there's some stuff to talk about. Starting off with Minnesota in against the Chicago Blackhawks. I can't figure out in this game if Chicago's better than expected or if Minnesota's not living up to expectations before the season started. I think it's a little bit of both. So it was Fleury versus Stalock. No Marcus Foligno for the Minnesota Wild, which does make a difference. Rossi has a rush chance that's held. He has been snake bit. He does not have a point yet this season. Blackwell has a net drive then that's held. There was a power play for Minnesota. Near miss for Eriksson Ek. That power play is killed off, but it's Chicago that gets on the board first. It's McCabe from Lafferty and Tenorti at 6:39. Yeah, I've been writing Lafferty's name on the board way more than I had ever expected to. That was from the point, and it was kind of out of nowhere. Minnesota had control up until that point, and then suddenly it's 1-0. But at 7:01, on a net drive, Boldy answers. The assist to Hartman. So it's a 1-1 tie. The Hawks nearly answer on the next shift. Kane's denied on a faceoff. Then we get some pushing. The shots are 9-6 for Chicago at the half. But at 10:52, Mason Shaw gets his first NHL goal. Steele and Dewar with the assists. Shaw, Steele, and Dewar to me sounds like a law firm, and I can't get it out of my head. So that was the first goal, and it was a beautiful play by Sam Steele. He outweighed Stalock and then puts it over to Shaw, and Shaw had an empty net to put it into. The Wild press for more, had some momentum. Things get pushy after a hold by Stalock. And then a Kachuk hit on Gaudreau raised tempers and seemed to fire up Chicago a little bit. The Hawks pressed with a minute and a half left, and they finished that period down by a goal, but they had more shots. Second period. Gaudreau has a rush chance saved early. The Hawks press at 3 minutes. The shots are 2-1 Chicago at 5.5 minutes. Hartman had a little bit of a fight with Tenorti, and Hartman got hurt on that one. So that's not what you want to see, and that's the thing. Hartman's had a bit of a rough go. You don't want to see him in a fight in case he gets hurt, right? Kane then has a blast that deflects wide. Kaprizov goes beast mode, but that was broken up. And then it's Taves. He ties up the game from Kurashev and Roos at 10:27. He buries that one in close. Taves has 5 goals already this season. The Wild press for an answer. Jost with a net drive that was saved. His time was elevated with Hartman out of the lineup. The Wild press with 4.5 minutes left. Rossi has a rush chance that deflects wide, and Duhaime had a near miss on a buzzer beater attempt. So we go to the third period, tied. Boldy and Jost get early shots that were saved. Shaw had a wraparound that was saved as well. Lafferty had a rush chance that was held. There's Lafferty's name on the board again. Hawks press at 4 minutes. The shots are 9-2 for the Wild at 5.5 minutes. There's a power play from Minnesota. Chicago kills that off. Post then for Spurgeon on a rush, but then Athanasiou puts Chicago back in the lead. He scores from Kane and Tenorti. So Jared Tenorti with a couple of helpers. That's at 10:02. So Chicago's the team of bizarre guys getting on the board. But that lead doesn't last. It's Boldy that answers again. This time it takes 17 seconds. Boldy scores from Eriksson Ek and Shaw. It was a good forecheck that sets it up, and he buries it. Then things get kind of brawly with 2 minutes and 35 seconds left. Everything's all even coming out of that. So we go to overtime. Hawks controlled early. Gaudreau had a chance that was saved. There was a near miss for Kaprizov, and Zuccarello hit the post. We go to a shootout. In the shootout, Kaprizov and Gaudreau had goals, and Minnesota wins 4-3 in the shootout. They go to 4-4-1. Not the prettiest game, but hey, it all counts. Chicago drops to 4-3-2, but they still have my respect. They're not rolling over here. The shots 13-11 Chicago in the first, 9-6 Minnesota in the second, 13-7 Minnesota in the third, and 2-0 Minnesota in the overtime. Final shots 35-26 for Minnesota. Power plays Minnesota 0-2. Chicago had none. They used them all up against Edmonton. Hits were 28-15 Chicago. Fleury had 23 out of 26 for saves, and Stalock saved 32 out of 35. So Stalock continues to play well early in the season. I didn't see that one coming either. All right, next up. New York Rangers in against the Arizona Coyotes. And again, this is what I expect in Mullet Arena. Games that are fun, games that are close, but ultimately the result, we'll see Arizona on the short end of the stick. So it was Shesterkin versus Ingram. We had Let's Go Ranger chants at the start of the game. And that got some boos from the crowd. I don't know how many Rangers fans were there, but there were some. Coyotes press at 2.5 minutes. Igor holds. The shots are 3-1 for Arizona at 5 minutes. They came out well. There's a near miss for Krause as they press. The Rangers get a power play. Good cycle. Near miss by Fox. Zibanejad's denied. The Coyotes cleared out. They did kill that off. Trouba then had a chance that was held. Trocheck's denied on a break. And Kassian had a rush that was saved, and Hayden hits the crossbar. He's not allowed to get points this year. So after the first period where the Rangers are dominant, it's scoreless because Ingram's playing really well. Second period, it doesn't say scoreless for long. At 1:31, it's Lafreniere from Panarin and Miller. It was a great pass by Panarin. It was his 31st birthday today, so happy birthday to him. And Lafreniere benefits. He gets the goal there. It's only his second of the season. Maybe that'll get him going. Coyotes press for an answer. The shots are 3-1 Rangers at 5 minutes. So the opposite of the first period, the Rangers come out sharp right away. The Coyotes, they'll get a power play, and they turn things around. First, it's Krause on the power play from Gunther and Michelli at 6:45, and it was a good cycle once they set up. I think it took him a minute and a half to set it up, and it was with about 5 seconds left in the penalty that Krause gets that goal. Trocheck had a shot that was blocked. Then, on a rush the other way, Bukestad gets his first of the season from Keller and Gunther at 11:27. So there's Gunther with a couple of helpers. Way to go, kid. And Lindgren had a misplay there as well. He was trying to get the puck, and anyways, it's hard to explain. Kakko's then denied. The Rangers were trying to tie it. Hayden has a rush chance, that saved. Coyotes pressed with 4 minutes left, but before the period's out, Panarin would score from Fox at 18:06. So that ties the game at 2. This is the period with almost all the goals in it. Boyd was then denied on a 3-on-2 for Arizona. Lindgren took a puck to the mouth. That didn't look fun, but he's back in the third period. So he took a puck to the mouth, about 20 seconds left in the second period, and he was back in the third because it's just his face. Lindgren doesn't care. He uses that for blocking shots. So the shots are 1 apiece at 4 minutes. Kassian's denied as the Coyotes press. Mosier then broke up a Panarin rush nicely, didn't take a penalty. Coyotes press at 8 minutes. Miller then had a net drive that was held. The Rangers get a power play, and they score on it. So the Rangers' power play ends up coming through for them here. Zibanejad would score from Kreider and Panarin at 12:56, and they scored pretty early in it. So after being stopped a couple of times, or stopped that first time, they get a goal in the second one. Kreider was then denied. Ingram holds. Ingram's the only reason this game's close at this stage. The Rangers turn it over, but Igor saves on that play. 3:29 left. The Rangers get a power play. Trocheck's denied in the slot. Arizona killed that off. They get the goalie pull with 50.9 seconds left when the Rangers ice the puck, but they don't have enough time. They don't get that tying goal. The Rangers hold on, and they're the only team to win in regulation today, 3-2 over Arizona. They go to 5-3-2 with the win. Arizona drops to 2-5-1 with the loss. The shots, 15-7 Rangers in the first, 12-10 Rangers in the second, 12-3 Rangers in the third. They locked it down. Final shots, 39-20 for the Rangers. Power plays, the Rangers 1 for 3. Arizona scored on the only power play they had. Hits, 34-27 for the Rangers, so they out-hit them as well. A lot of that is because of Blais and Reeves. Shesterkin saves 18 out of 20. He wasn't overly busy. Ingram was, saved 36 out of 39. Looked great. But again, this is kind of how I expect things to be in Arizona. They're entertaining games. If you go to these games, I'm sure you're entertained by them, even as a Coyote fan. But ultimately, the plan is for them to be kind of bad for a while. All right, now, let us discuss the Leafs and the Ducks. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who are going to come to this video looking for this one. And I know there's people who think, well, Shannon hates the Leafs. He must love this. My jaw dropped. This review, I actually had to wait an extra 5 minutes before starting this video because I wanted to hear what the TSN panel said first. I'm going to give my take on this. The Toronto Maple Leafs are a team that we are used to seeing in the first round of the playoffs, terrified of winning and shooting themselves in the foot and making little mental errors. And it really is in their heads. And we know this. We've known this for years. Now it's affecting them during the regular season. This road trip has been a disaster. So winning in Winnipeg, that was good. They lost in Vegas, but it was close, and I didn't think it was a big deal. They lost in San Jose, but everybody has an off game, and San Jose can catch you. Losing to LA, well, you can forgive that in that LA was a playoff team last year, and they desperately needed the win too. This one stings. And this one stings for a few reasons. Let's go through it. So Shalgren versus Gibson, early chances for both teams. Near miss for Matthews on a 2-on-1. But the Leafs would get a power play, and it's Austin Matthews who gets the second of the year from Nylander and Marner at 4:23. And he scored it on the rush, and that's what you want to see, right? This was the second time already in the game that Matthews had a chance from his usual spot where he'll score a goal. The Leafs pressed for another. Strome then had a rush chance. That was defended by the Leafs. The Ducks pressed with 8.5 minutes left. Lundestrom was denied. Sandin has a rush chance that's held, and there's some pushing. But then, on a turnover, and you're going to hear that word a lot with the Leafs on this one, Silverberg from Grant and Lundestrom at 11:23. We then had 2 minutes of 4-on-4. Melgan would score late in the period to restore the lead for Toronto. He scores from Nylander and Robertson at 17:50, and it was a bar-down goal on a fast break. So Toronto's up 2-1. Tavares is then denied as the Leafs press for more. Toronto's up 2-1 after one period. Makes sense. Anaheim hasn't won a game in 7, right? So you should be able to go into Anaheim if you are one of the better teams in the league, which Toronto was expected to be. All right, second period. Early power play for the Leafs. That was killed off, but it had 3 shots. It had opportunities. Terry then has a rush chance. That's broken up. Max Jones then had a rush. That was saved and held. Ducks are blocking off the middle of the ice. They did a pretty good job of neutralizing the center of the ice against Toronto. Near miss for Bunting as the Leafs would press. The Ducks get a power play. That's killed off. Riley broke up a 3-on-2. Terry had a wraparound. That was cleared. Grant's denied on a fast break. The Ducks would get a power play towards the end of the period. So, with the third period starting, that's 1 minute and 57 seconds of power play time for the Ducks. This is a good time for an insurance goal for Toronto. They get it. It's a shorthanded goal. It's Yarncroke from Kerfoot and Brody at 45 seconds. And again, watching this, the Ducks power play is now a -2. Yeah. It is because of shorthanded goals against. Their power play is hurting them. They're actually allowing more than they're scoring. It's one of those times where Dallas Aikens could just say, we'll go ahead and decline, using a football term there. So it was a great pass. It was a turnover. It was a rush opportunity, and it's 3-1. And this is where, okay, now you need to lock it down. And I talk about this a lot. And when a team locks it down, you don't see a lot of shots against. Look at the Rangers here. 3 shots against in the third. Minnesota, 7 shots against in the third. Spoiler alert, the Winnipeg-Vegas game kind of goes against that. But Vegas did a good job of doing that shutdown defense for most of that game. The contending, the better team should be the one that's capable of shutting the other team down, which Toronto had done in the first period, mostly in comparison with their shots. Something happens here in the third. So Strome has a rush chance that's saved. Kerfoot gets a penalty shot, which didn't make Duck fans happy, and I agree. Because there had been a play earlier in the period where they could have awarded a penalty shot, and they didn't. And it looked like the play where Kerfoot gets the penalty shot was less egregious than the previous one where they didn't call the penalty shot, which was with 3 seconds left. That's the Grant denied on a fast break, where he was getting hooked from behind. So Duck fans aren't happy. Dallas Aikens, you could see he wasn't happy either. I don't know, maybe that fires them up a little bit. Maybe that's part of what happens here. But not long after, there's a breakaway goal on a turnover. Zegras scores from Terry at 7:24. I believe that was the Marner turnover. Been a lot of talk about, hey, you could just play 4 forwards and a defenseman. They can do this. When you see the turnovers that were committed in this game by Mitch Marner, by John Tavares that ended up in the back of the Toronto net, no. Not saying that defensemen don't turn the puck over, but just, if Marner's going to be a forward and a defenseman, the defensive side has to be really solid, because otherwise it does not work. So the Ducks press to tie with 11:07 left. This is where Sheldon Keefe calls a timeout. And he is pointing straight at Marner and talking about the goals that have been scored because of him, right? And it's funny, they're going to make a big deal, because they're already making a big deal about it on TSN. The media is going to make this big deal out of it. How much money does Marner get paid? A coach should be able to point at him and go, that's on you, man. That goal's on you. And that's what was going on then. Now, coming out of that timeout, I thought, good. That was the right call. I thought Keefe made the right call there. But turnovers end up in the back of their net. Kulikov, ties the game from Vatrano and Shattenkirk at 13:01. So what's going on here? Well, then Frankie Vatrano scores. It's challenged for goaltender interference. The announcers didn't think it was goaltender interference. I sure as hell don't think it's goaltender interference. And I'm going to say why. A, the puck goes in off Hall, so There's that. B, there's no way that Källgren would have been able to save the puck. That's supposed to be part of it, is would the goaltender have saved it? And I don't think Källgren would have. And it's just, we've seen goals allowed where I think it's just, we might be back to that point where goaltender interference is a head scratcher. So the Leafs are lucky this goes to overtime, to be honest. The Ducks should have won this in regulation. So here's the thing. You're the better team. You're the Leafs. You're the better team. You're against a team that was 1-6-1 coming into this game. This is where you're supposed to win. This is where, if you're the better team, you're supposed to win. Here. The better team wins in each game. Ducks controlled early. Terry has a rush chance that saved. Nylander was then poke-checked on a rush of his own. Marner was robbed in close by Gibson, who had his best game of the season. And then it's a break. And it's Trevor Zegras. And he buries it for his second breakaway goal of the game. EA Sports, you guys can load up either of those and add them to next year's game. That's at 2:15. 2:15 of overtime. The Ducks complete a comeback from 3-1 down and win 4-3 in overtime, sending the Leafs to 4-4-2. And oh, don't worry about last night's power rankings. The Leafs have been adjusted on the board based on this result. This is a team that is so scared of making mistakes and losing. They're making mistakes and losing. And Sheldon Keefe is saying all the right things behind the bench. But this has to be dealt with. This is something Kyle Dubas has to deal with because it's not working. All right. The shots in this one, 17-9 Toronto in the first, 14-7 Anaheim in the second, 12-10 Anaheim in the third, and 4-1 Anaheim in the overtime. Final shots are 39-35 for Anaheim. I don't need to look it up. I'm pretty sure that's the most shots Anaheim's had in a game. Power plays, Toronto 1 for 2, Anaheim 0 for 2. Hits 18-9 for Anaheim. So there wasn't any physicality from Toronto either. Källgren saves 35 out of 39. Gibson saves 32 out of 35. And your guess is as good as mine as to what happens from here. And again, I a Leaf fan? No. Is this going to be the longest rant that I've had in weeks? Absolutely. Because you have to shut this game down. You're up 3-1 early in the third. All you have to do is cruise from there, which other teams can do. Other teams can do that. And I'm saying that even though Minnesota, I think, underperformed tonight as well, but they still get the 2 points. The Rangers had their moments, but they get the 2 points. And Vegas, let us go ahead and talk about Vegas. Because this was a fun game. So it is rare for a team to move up on the power rankings board when they lose. But that is the case with the Jets. Because Connor Hellebuyck, man, I tell you, I can't penalize the Jets on this one. So it's Hellebuyck versus Hill in this one, and full credit to Adin Hill. We'll talk about him. Strong offense by Vegas early. The shots are 4-0 in their favor 5 minutes in. So yeah, Vegas starts on time, which they usually do. Vegas gets a power play, good cycle, some near misses. That's killed off. Hellebuyck was bailing out the Jets. I put on the board so far. I could just put Hellebuyck bailed out the Jets because he did. Vegas goes to another power play. That was killed off by Winnipeg. Howden couldn't bury on a 2-on-1 after the first period. The shots heavily favor Vegas, but Hellebuyck's been standing on his head. Second period. Early press by Vegas. Perfetti has a rush chance that's held. Vegas presses at 5 minutes. Eichel couldn't bury it. Vegas comes out of it with a power play, though, because Eichel went beast mode numerous times tonight. This might be the best game I've seen him have in quite some time. Since he was the Sabre, basically, before his back was bothering him. Hellebuyck was the story to this point, and it's just Hellebuyck, really. That's killed off because Hellebuyck. Howden had net feed, that's held. DeMello then had a screenshot that was held. One of those rare shots. Winnipeg had 7 shots through the first 30 minutes. They had 1 shot in the second half of that second period. It was really the Hellebuyck versus Vegas show. Vegas presses with 7.5 minutes left. Stone has a rush chance, it's held. Connor's denied in close. That's the 1 shot. Kyle Connor, who is still really snake bit. So the Jets had a rare press near the end of the second period. We're still scoreless going into the third. And against all odds, at 14 seconds, Lowry opens the scoring for Winnipeg from Pionk and Barron. That was the 10th shot of the game for Winnipeg. There were 33 for Vegas to that point. And Winnipeg's ahead 1-0 because Hellebuyck reasons. So Vegas presses, but they need some shots. The Jets press at 3.5 minutes, and the shots are 2-0 for the Jets at 5 minutes. But in third periods, Vegas will tend to get that momentum going. That's usually the plan, and it works. Stone scores from Eichel on a rebound at 7:13. So Eichel's on the board with the assist, Stone with the goal, and it's 1-1. And you could kind of feel like this could turn. So Eichel's denied, Vegas presses. 4:48 left, the Jets get their first power play of the game. On the tying goal, there was an argument from the Jets that a penalty should have been called on the play. They finally get that power play with 4:48 left. Morrissey and Connor had shots that were saved during that. It's killed off, and then right out of the box, Phil Kessel had a rush. Hellebuck came out, though, so that by the time Kessel goes to take a shot on the net, he doesn't have an angle where he can get the shot on net. So smart move by Hellebuck coming out of the net. Raw is then denied in the final minute. So we go to overtime. Jets controlled early. Scheifele tips one wide. Dubois has a chance to deflect out. Vegas controls on the next faceoff. Doesn't keep it. Schmidt was denied on a rush. You know Nate Schmidt wanted the goal there. Morrissey has a tip that's held. But just as I'm getting ready to write the word shootout on the board, as I did over here, a goal goes in. It's Eichel. An absolute beast mode goal by Eichel at 4:53 from Theodore and Stone. Your final score is 2-1 for Vegas. In overtime, they go to 8-2 with the win. The Jets 5-3-1. They'll take the point. Honestly, the way the Jets played tonight, they'll take the point. The shots are 18-4 Vegas in the first, 15-4 Vegas in the second, 14-13 Vegas in the third, and 4-1 in the overtime in favor of Winnipeg. Final shots 48-25 for the Vegas Golden Knights. Power plays Winnipeg 0 for 1, Vegas 0 for 3. Hits 43-21 for the Jets. Hellebuck saved 46 out of 48. Adin Hill saved 24 out of 25. Adin Hill did not face very many shots at all in the first two periods, and he was very sharp when he needed to be in the third period and overtime. I always liked Hill, and I'm glad to see he's doing well for Vegas. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, as always. And if you're a Leaf fan, or if you watched that game, I have one question. How do you fix that? How do you fix a team that as soon as things start going the wrong way, their whole body language, everything about their game goes, I don't know. And they start gripping the sticks a little too tight. They start making bad passes and bad decisions. How do you fix it? Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you browse your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.